Dave Ramsey, the personal finance messiah, a man whose YouTube channel has over 2.2 million subscribers, making him one of, if not the most important finance figure on this platform. Dave's no-nonsense attitude towards money has earned him respect and a giant following, but following the release of this clip, many, including myself, have found that Dave lacks knowledge on certain issues, especially those related to inflation. In a video titled, "Should I Move My Savings with Inflation on the Rise?" Dave answers with this.
Boaz is with us in Wichita, Kansas. Hey, Boaz, what's up?
Hey, Dave, how are you?
Great, man. How can we help?
Hey, I'm currently a college student here in Wichita, and I am kind of wondering, I have about $22,000 in savings. I'm kind of afraid because right now I hear with all the new money being printed that inflation's going to hit it. So I'm wondering, since I'm currently a college student,
what did you hear?
Take out some in the,
What did you hear?
Oh, I was hearing that there was like going to be a lot of inflation maybe here coming since they printed off a lot of money.
Who told you that?
Oh man, well, that's what I've been hearing from a couple people. So I've been
like who? Your drinking buddy in college?
No, just a little bit on YouTube and things like that.
Oh, you went down a rabbit hole of conspiracy theory crap. That's what I thought. You've been playing on the internet, getting financial advice. Oh, Dave.
Yeah.
Okay, where do I start? Before I show you the rest of the clip, I wanted to stop right here and just showcase why this comment makes me really rethink the way I look at the Ramsey show. So a younger caller, as you just heard, reaches out and asks Dave if he should be concerned about inflation. And Dave answers in a way that's not only demeaning, but as you will see in a moment, it's straight up wrong. First, let's start with the basics. Dave is implying that because he got financial advice from YouTube, it's supposedly false. Well, Dave, last time I checked, you make a living giving financial advice on YouTube, and this idea that if it comes from the internet, it's crap is just plain wrong. Sure, there's plenty of BS out there, but there's also some amazing people on the platform making content that is much better than what you would get paying for a financial advisor. Now, this ties into my other point. Dave doesn't really give this guy a chance and explain why he's wrong. He just dismisses inflation concerns as if everyone is just blind to the fact that everything, down to beans and rice, is going up in price. But let's see what he says and play some more of the clip.
So, what are you studying?
I'm studying aerospace engineering.
Good for you. Good for you. So here's the point. A guy like you that even has enough good common sense to even ask this question is so far ahead of the game studying aerospace engineer that you investing in you, what Anthony's telling you, to get that degree debt-free is worth a lot more than any investment that you could possibly make. No mutual fund will keep up with what you're going to be worth because you are getting an aerospace degree. Mm-hmm. Follow me? Mathematically.
Yes, sir.
Mathematically, you are more valuable. That's not some kind of existential thing of we think Boaz is awesome, although we do. But this is more like, dude, the money that you can make with that degree is greater than the money you will make on a mutual fund. Get that degree, get it debt-free. Anthony's advice is exactly correct.
So in the follow-up, Dave makes a great point I actually agree with. Investing in yourself and learning a skill that few can do is undoubtedly the best way to a great future and also happens to be the best inflation hedge as well. Even Warren Buffett spoke about exactly this in a speech way back in the 80s when he was asked about the best inflation hedges. He actually doesn't recommend a stock or a commodity or a real asset, but he says this instead.
I'm going to talk to you about inflation and investing in inflationary times. The best case scenario for inflation in India next year is projected about between 5 and 6%. We're going to end this fiscal, that's 31st March, at about 8%. I know you've often said that inflation swindles the equity investor, and it is perhaps the best alternative amongst other alternatives as a hedge against inflation. But given the fact that we're dealing with fairly high levels of inflation in India, what would your advice be to people who are investing? What should they change? What should they do?
Yeah, well, inflation, Keynes said it many years ago that it's an invisible tax that only one man in a million really understands, and it's a tax on people that have had faith in their currency that the government's issued. The best protection, the best investment against inflation is to improve your own earning power, you know, your own talents. Very few people maximize their talents. And if you increase your talents, they can't tax it while you're doing it. They can't take it away from you. So if you become more useful in your activities, your profession, doctor, lawyer, whatever it may be, that is the best protection against a currency that might decline at a rapid rate.
So Dave is right on the money when he tells the caller that investing in his aerospace engineering degree is his best bet. But this doesn't erase his point about the fact that upcoming inflation is this goofy conspiracy that is circulating in the depths of financial YouTube. Sure, you have many channels that are a bit on the loony side, I won't mention any names, but we all know them. And yes, I've been guilty of titling my thumbnails and videos a certain dramatic way, but that's just the name of the game. Unfortunately, in the finance YouTube world, negativity sells. So while occasionally I title my videos a certain way, I'm also ensuring that the content within them stays true to the facts and doesn't deviate into some loony world where hyperinflation is happening next week and the IMF is going to take over the world under one government. But it seems like Dave is refusing to acknowledge the facts on the ground, and the facts are growing more and more apparent. Everything is going up in price. Real estate, rents, materials, cars, food. We can spend all day listing out every single sector, but I guess for some people this still isn't enough, and it's coming across as a bit arrogant. This video is not going to age well considering the way things are headed. Dave goes on to say this.
Now, let's step back for a second, though, just for the fun of it, and have that inflation discussion, okay? Just to soothe your fears. Yes, there's going to be some inflation. We're already seeing it. And what inflation is an increase in costs. The cost you have to worry about increasing is college. You don't have to worry about the cost of milk over the next 3 years, ruining your life. You do have to worry about the cost of milk or gasoline or whatever other components of inflation that there are ruining your life over 50 years. But not over 4 years or 3 years or 2 years while you're in college. It's the long-term drip that where inflation kills you. The only way that inflation would kill you in 2 years is if we had hyperinflation, which we have never had in the United States. And hyperinflation is where all goods and services triple in 1 year or quadruple in 1 year. So a $200,000 house becomes an $800,000 house. A gallon of gas is going for $14 and a loaf of bread is $10. And if you saw that, then your fears would have come true. But that would be the first time in the history of the United States. By the way, there's only 2 instances that we can find in the modern world economy that has actually occurred. One was in pre-Nazi Germany, and the other is good old South America, Argentina. Okay, and so we saw collapses of the entire economy. As a result, new governments rose up, and all currency was disbanded, and they started over.
Okay, so as the video progresses, I have to be honest. Dave does get a bit more fair with his analysis, but he still downplays the hyperinflation scenario as if it's an impossible one. He is correct in saying that the United States has never experienced it, but my belief is in the facts and not the past results. The big thing you need to know is that almost all hyperinflation scenarios have been caused by government budget deficits financed by currency creation. And if you look at the US, this is exactly the road we're headed towards, with the pandemic relief fueling this deficit. How much this money printing limit is, nobody knows, not even Jerome Powell. But one thing a lot of experts can agree on is that we're playing with fire. There's no guarantee hyperinflation happens. In fact, I still think that the chances are still low, but probably the highest they've been in history. One of my favorite charts all time is this: the time it would take the Venezuelan bolivar to lose 90% of its value. If you look back at 2012, it stands at 64 years. But as things get progressively worse, they do so exponentially. By July of 2018, this stat went from 64 years to 3 months. And like every other hyperinflation scenario, things get bad, then worse, then all of a sudden you have a complete collapse in currency. Hyperinflation involves both the supply and velocity of money. Which comes first is a matter of debate, and there will be no universal story that applies to all cases. But once hyperinflation is established, the pattern of increasing the money stock by whatever agencies are allowed to do so is universal. Because this practice increases the supply of currency without any matching increase in demand for it, the price of the currency, that is the exchange rate, naturally falls relative to other currencies. Inflation becomes hyperinflation when the increase in money supply turns specific areas of pricing power into a general frenzy of spending quickly before money becomes worthless. The purchasing power of the currency drops so rapidly that holding cash even for a day is an unacceptable loss of purchasing power. As a result, no one holds currency, which increases the velocity of money and worsens the crisis. Right now, we're still at record low velocity, which is a great sign amidst a towering mountain of bad signs. If we see the velocity of money increase, that's when we truly should get worried. In the meantime, I would focus on investing in yourself and watch this video I put out on inflation hedges. There is no reason to be losing sleep over this chance just yet, but keep an eye out for the signs just in case. Thank you guys for watching, and please make sure you hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed.